All right, perfect. Yeah, my name is Ian, and I am one of the maintainers of Create React App, or at least that's why I'm here. I also contribute to Node.js and a few other open source projects. And during the day, I work at a startup in Canada. Yeah, sure. So I also started using it like very, very shortly after it came out. And I think not too long after that, I had contributed a couple bug fixes, minor feature enhancements. So yeah, I think I got involved like pretty early on, but not too seriously. And then it was after V1 came out. V2 was in the works, and I started working on a new feature, like a larger feature, which is we allow you to import an SVG as a React component directly, without having. There are some tools out there that'll convert an SVG to a React component for you. We do that on the fly for you.
Okay.
And so I ended up, I think we tried like 3 or 4 different ways to implement that. Lots of people got involved, like Dan Abramov and like Kent C. Dodds and some of the Babel guys. We were trying to figure out the best way to build that. So in the end, I ended up building like a custom Babel plugin for it. And we finally got the feature merged. And then I think it was just like the next morning I woke up and I had an email from GitHub that said, "You've been invited to collaborate on the Create React App repo." But there was I was like, who sent this to me? There was no like ceremony or anything. It was just a GitHub invitation.
That is amazing. Mainly because like you started working on this thing. And I think a lot of times people try to figure out like, hey, how do I join your org or how do I join the repo itself? And I guess this comes down to doing stuff. I don't know if I could summarize that well.
I think that's the best way, right? Is just put up a few PRs, maybe answer some questions in the issues and stuff like that. And if if you're doing good work, then probably someone will notice, and probably they need help maintaining the project. A lot of open source projects do. So I definitely think that's a great way if people are looking how to get started. Don't jump in and try and do something huge right off the bat.
Majority of the projects I build are on Create React App, which is also something that I'm happy to have you on, because
Nice.
I've been not only a fan since the beginning, but also I've just been a user since the beginning. Now
Nice.
It's been a while since I created a new React app, probably at least a year since I created a brand new one, mainly because the ones I work on I still need to work on. So
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, that's pretty cool to hear that. Yeah.
It's an interesting project in that sense. Like our users it's a really diverse crowd. Like we have people that are new to React, sometimes new to programming entirely that use it. And then we have other, more experienced people using it to build apps, sometimes for professional purposes. And then a lot of people, like it sounds like you or myself, will use it to just like bootstrap a quick like experiment. So I would say today there's really 3 core maintainers: myself, another guy named Ian Schmitz, and then another guy named Brody McKee. Confusingly, there's 2 Ians from Canada that maintain Create React App. Dan stops by every once in a while to file an issue or to offer a suggestion.
Yeah, it looks like he's on vacation right now too, as well.
But he definitely, with his extremely large hat.
Yeah.
He's definitely not involved in the day to day. And then when I started working on the project, Joe there, Timer, was sort of running like the day to day of the project. And so him and I worked together on V2 quite a bit. He now is one of the maintainers of next.js.
Yeah.
A few of the early project was created by Dan Abramov, and then a couple people from Facebook have some early on commits. They were kind of helping out too.
Yeah, and so I'm curious because I wonder if everybody else is wondering this too as well. The fact that this says Facebook here and you're a maintainer, you didn't mention you work at Facebook, so I just want to make that clear for other folks who weren't aware.
Right. And that's actually something we're trying to make a little bit more clear in general. Create React App was created by Facebook.
Yeah.
But it's a community maintained project these days. No one from Facebook gets paid to work on Create React App, full-time or part-time. Like I said, Dan will, file the occasional issue, or we'll chat sometimes, and he'll have, maybe some feature or something he's wanting us to get in. But that's really kind of the extent of it. And actually, that's why we also recently just launched an open collective for Create React App.
Okay, excellent. That I guess that is Create React App. Are we is it linked here somewhere?
Yeah, there's a link in the README. It's kind of near the bottom. It says supporting up a little bit. Supporting Create React App. There we go.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, this is actually, it's existed for a while. You can see we have some existing sponsors, but we just linked it on the README yesterday, and we're kind of making it official now.
Okay, excellent. Well, yeah, you heard it first here, folks. Breaking news. But yeah, that's interesting too as well. So Create React App, now it's definitely maintained by folks outside of Facebook. You do have some Facebook employees who come through and say, hey, it'd be cool to add this feature.
And Facebook, they help us with a couple other things. Like, I mean, they do host our repo. We get access to GitHub Actions through that. They designed our logo for us. They do some of our like domain registration, DNS kind of stuff. So they help us out with some of that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, and folks, if you have questions for Ian, definitely drop in the chat. I'll grab them. Obviously, I'm paying attention. We fixed our mic issues. But my question would be, is it common for folks to, like, is this an on-ramp to become a Facebook employee? Like, what's, like, I guess, like, I don't know if it's a hard-hitting question, not meant to be, but I'm just curious of, like, why not Create React App / Create React App instead of Facebook / Create React App?
I mean, that's a good question. The project initiated or started like, life in the Facebook repo.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just momentum, I would say, is the answer at this point. It's kind of just stayed there, but it wouldn't surprise me to see that one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's should you change the name to something else? And that's, it's a good question. I think Create React App is so synonymous. I think I don't know if, cause you're, as you are, I was an early user too as well. And I think most people have taken that create blank app. Like,
right.
I'm not sure who did it first, but this is the first project I saw that did this, that has a CLI tool that sort of just works pretty well. But I think it's now, like, even Create Next app exists, Create Probot app exists, Create whatever app exists. So I think that makes sense to keep the name that way. But if you're getting like action minutes and you're getting support like design help from Facebook, it doesn't make sense. Honestly, it wouldn't make sense for me to move out of that sort of structure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying it couldn't happen one day, but for the time being, they do give us some nice things. So
yeah,
like you said, those action minutes, those are valuable.
Yeah, they are, especially with the, well, an org as big as Facebook, like they're obviously paying money to have everything working. But as an open source project, I've talked to a lot of open source projects, and they've hit this sort of the ceiling of the action minutes just from sheer force and contribution. Right.
Yeah. And Create React App is a pretty big project. We've got, quite a large number of PRs at any given time. So yeah. And actually we are working on moving our entire CI over to GitHub Actions. So.
Oh, excellent. And I also wanted to point out, you mentioned you guys cut a release a couple hours ago.
Oh yeah. I forgot to, I did everything except for the GitHub release. You can see, if you want to see what's in there, if you go to the change log in the root of the repo, I just need to paste that into the releases. Yeah, so that's, I guess, some exciting news. We shipped Create React App 4.0 just about 2 hours ago.
Nice, congratulations.
Haven't announced it yet, so this is it. You're the exclusive.
Wow, welcome everybody. Go get your npm started and start making some Create React apps.
Yeah.
Excellent. There's a question about React Native CLI. I imagine that's the Create React app is pretty separate from React Native.
Yes, I don't really know anything about the Create React Native CLI.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been a while since I used React Native, even directly. Last thing I did was Expo.
There was Create React Native app for a while, but I think they may have deprecated that in favor of Expo.
Yeah. So can we talk about the benefits of Create React app?
Sure.
Of like why you would use this over just npm installing React.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, React itself is not a framework. So I mean, if you make a new project and npm install React, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, this is true.
So there's some setup work you have to do to get a basic project working, which is like configuring a bundler like Webpack, configuring Babel, maybe something like Webpack Dev Server. There's a few tools that you need to configure, and in the case of Webpack and Babel, they're extremely complicated tools, and getting them all configured correctly and working well together is extremely difficult. And so if you're someone that's new to React or new to JavaScript, you just want to learn React, setting all of that stuff up is not, it has nothing to do with what you're trying to do. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
So the goal was, okay, how could we make it so you can run one command from your terminal, and we will set up all of that config for you, and basically give you a blank canvas with React ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that we can actually do here, npx.
Yeah.
So if I npx, I think I'll get the latest that way.
I think so. You can always just do npx create react app -- version just to verify that. Yeah, if it's fetching from npm, then you should be good.
Yeah, so I'll just call this 4.0. And I'll get a full-on React app and moments. Oh, actually, that was faster than.
There's still a little more to do.
Yeah, that's right. I remember the setup, but yeah, we can move back to here while that's happening.
Sure.
But yeah, what I like about it, and I mentioned this earlier, like just being able to have a React app with a base React component. I think you still get the app.js and you have like the spinning React logo.
Yep.
That's like pretty much most of the projects I build are that, and I just usually delete all that stuff and drop in some like JavaScript to showcase something or hook in an API or whatnot. But yeah, I just been a fan of just quickly throwing something together for like a test or a demo or proof of concept. I do a lot of interacting with the GitHub API, so being able to have like a form or something with the API, like it tends to be my go-to. But speaking of go-to, I'm curious of Create React app. I know we're coming off of like things like Hacktoberfest and contributions, but I'm curious of if folks are interested in collaborating and contributing, like what are the best ways to sort of find issues to work on or find things to sort of collaborate with?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we have a number of open issues. We could definitely use help triaging some of those issues. So that's a great, a great way that people can help out. If someone's asking a question or something and you know the answer, or you think you can help them troubleshoot it, just jumping into the issues and trying to help people. We also have GitHub Discussions now. So we're trying to move those kinds of things away from issues and into the discussions.
Nice.
So that's definitely one way. I mean, opening issues, filing bug reports, and then, like I said, it's a community project. So helping out other people in the community if they're stuck, if you can help troubleshoot their issue, that's a great way to get involved. And then beyond that, there's also, I mean, some of the issues do require fixes on our end. So opening up a PR is also very welcome. And I mean, we're even looking for we're looking for contributors, but I mean, we're also always looking for more maintainers as well. Like I said, it's just the three of us really right now. And we all have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So it's a big project, so it's hard to keep up sometimes.
Yeah. What's the process of someone? I guess the last maintainer you onboarded, so there's only three of you.
Yep.
What's the process of someone sort of becoming a maintainer? Because I think that's a question that comes up a lot in my circles, because I do a lot of work to like teach people open source just in general.
Yep.
But like, is it similar to you? Like you just work on a project and then one day you get an invite?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best way is to, start small, find a couple little bugs or something in the issues, fix up a couple things like that, then maybe tackle something larger. I definitely always recommend talking to the maintainers before you undertake a big project. Every once in a while, someone will just drop a huge PR with no sort of warning.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes it's not a direction that we want to go, and so you feel kind of bad because they obviously put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
Having to close it. So definitely, if you have something larger you want to work on, we have an issue type that's proposal. So that's a great way to start there. You could make a proposal, say like, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. We can have a kind of a discussion about it. And then, if the maintainers say like, yeah, that's awesome, we would love that, go ahead, then, start working on it. But yeah, I would say so start with a couple small changes, maybe work on a couple larger features. And if you're doing that and helping out, helping people out in the issues, like I said, and just being a all around good community member, then probably, we're going to ask you if you're interested in doing a little more and maybe being one of the maintainers. Yeah.
And I like a couple things. I like the proposal, the use of the proposal issue. I've not seen that before. So yeah, nice tip there. And I'm actually going to be looking through these and seeing what people are actually proposing and see if I have thoughts that I can just drive by and drop in. But also, the thing you mentioned about reaching out to maintainers, I'm curious like what that looks like too as well, just to make it clear for folks who like, is it mention you on proposal issues? Like, do you guys hang out in the React Discord as well?
So yeah, I mean, you can definitely mention us on GitHub. Like a lot of people, I get a lot of GitHub notifications.
Yep, same.
So I may or may not see that. Otherwise, I guess there's the discussions as well. We did have a Spectrum community at one point, but we kind of replaced that with discussions.
Yeah.
You can always find me on Twitter as well. Again, I do my best to answer. Don't always have time, especially if I'm at work. But yeah, I would say those are a few ways you can reach out. Mentioning us on an issue is a good start. And if you haven't heard back in a little while, then you can always reach out on Twitter. I don't really spend a ton of time on the React Discord.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say those are probably the two best ways right now.
Yeah, and that's good to know too as well, because I think a lot of times, and I get this with my projects, and like to be very clear, my project is not anywhere near the level of Create React App, so no one needs to cry me a river. But what I'm getting at is I get a lot of drive-by PRs and people submitting for features that I just don't have. I don't see that it actually is valid for the project I'm working on, but also. Right. I think a couple of those like TypeScript or want to change the way I do linting, which is like thank you very much for the PR, but like I don't think I'm going to change the way I do linting right this far into the game, unless the linter I'm using breaks. Which if ESLint is going to die on us, please let us know. We'll do a tweet and like people will jump on to be maintainers. But it's what I'm getting at is like I like having breadcrumbs for folks to sort of figure out how to like find me, but also how to contribute. And I think one of the places actually I jump into is a contributing MD too as well. So I was just going to jump in this one and sort of get an idea, because I honestly have never contributed to Create React App. I say that, but I don't. I might have. I honestly, it's been so long. But
Well, if you haven't, you should.
yeah, I might have done a. It might have been a dependency in React scripts because I'm not sure, but we don't have to get into how the project is set up yet. Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, honestly, don't remember, but I think I did something in React scripts. But there we go. But what I'm getting at with the contributing MD, I'm curious: are there any sort of things that you would want to point out to folks to?
That's the code of conduct.
Oh, this is the code of conduct. Well,
also good. Definitely read that too.
Definitely read that, yeah, because that's important to make sure you're approaching the conversation in the correct way.
Yeah, and we've had really good luck with that. We have a pretty good community. We haven't really had any issues there. So yeah, the contributing guide kind of this probably is due for an update, but it kind of walks you through like, okay, here's the basic like ideas and structure of the project. And then there's, I think, some more, a little bit more. Oh yeah, like there, like how do you submit a pull request? Things like that. It's pretty straightforward, honestly, as far as projects go. It really, for the most part, is just make a fork, make a branch, commit your changes, open up a PR. We don't have a ton of process around it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's good to hear too as well, because sometimes you don't know about the process until you actually jump into it, and it's always nice to have this sort of laid out so folks are familiar with it. And then the structure of the project too as well. So like React scripts, and I've actually always wondered this too as well, because like I literally have. So this project is the project I've been sort of kind of dancing around. Actually, at a couple of these streams, I always mention it, but I never actually share it. But it's called Open Sauce. I created it, I think, about 4 years ago using Create React App. And I've obviously already ejected like a long time ago. So like I'm just using everything directly. And it's basically just a basic React app that I got started really quickly. But what I'm getting at is this React scripts, like, are these meant to be updated as you go along? Like, are these scripts only for when you create React app for the first time?
No, they are meant to be updated, and that's actually why it's a separate package. So I guess maybe a quick explanation of how this works. The Create React App package itself is the CLI that sort of kicks the whole process off to create your app, and then it installs React scripts as one of the dependencies, actually the only dependency in your project other than React itself.
Yeah.
And then that's where, for example, when you run npm start or npm build, that's where those scripts live. And all of our config, like Webpack and Babel config I was mentioning, is in React scripts. And so the idea is if you don't eject, all you have to do to upgrade to a new version of Create React App is bump the version of React script in your package JSON and run npm, and you're ready to go. Really?
Okay. How long has that always been the case?
Yep.
Okay, so I just never read the documentation.
That's the main reason why we discourage people from ejecting.
Yeah.
Because if you do, that doesn't work anymore.
Gotcha. Excellent. Well, I've already crossed that bridge. But good to know, though, because in the event I do create another React app, because I think React is, so if it's not obvious, like React is one of my favorite libraries to use, and it's sort of the backbone of a lot of the work that I do, even at GitHub, but also just out in the open and open source. So like I continue to leverage these tools, and I look forward to having the opportunity to build a new app. And with this knowledge, not ejecting.
Well, and we've also over the last few years added a number of features that people did want to eject for.
Yeah.
So it's hopefully less and less necessary these days. Like the big one for the longest time was SaaS support.
Yeah.
Which we added in V2.
Excellent. Yeah, and it's funny because this question I see usually get asked on Twitter probably like twice a year. But asking questions like, why do you eject? And I assume...
Yeah, this is someone from the community actually posted this and was sending around on Twitter trying to solicit opinions on why people eject. We also have there's this survey when you do eject at the end.
Yes.
It's a link to a Google form. And we basically ask you like, hey, do you mind filling this out and telling us why you ejected?
Yeah.
So that's where we got some of that information from. SAS was a huge reason. So we added support for that. We also, in version 3, we used to tell people you would have to do a fork if you wanted to customize the templates.
Yeah.
So when we scaffold an app for you, it has sort of a default template, and you used to have to fork if you wanted to make any customization to that. Now we support custom templates right out of the box. So we keep trying to find things that are causing people to eject, and just bring them into the project if it makes sense.
Yeah, and so a couple things. Michael Bowie mentioned that he had a contribution, and it was nice to go through that experience. So he dropped that in the chat.
He did, yeah. I was he actually helped out a lot with our V4 release. He did a bunch of the ESLint upgrade work, which involved thanklessly making PRs in something like 6 or 8 Babel ESLint plugins that we use. So yeah, it was very good of him to coordinate all of that.
Yeah, nice. Michael, thanks for joining us in this chat too as well, and sharing. One other question from Akash is, suppose we want to add a Webpack loader, maybe a SVG loader or something else. Like, can that thing happen without ejecting?
No, so that you can't customize the Webpack config without ejecting. But we do have an SVG loader. We just added the support for AVIF, the new image format. So in that case, I mean, if you need that immediately, then you might have to eject. But if something in a situation like that, if you're looking for some kind of loader that we don't have, open an issue, and if it makes sense, we'll consider adding it. Nice.
Yeah, and folks, thanks for following the channel too as well. We will provide updates and notifications when we do go live. But I did want to point out too for Etz, he's mentioning why did I say hey? They, because your pronouns are not in your handle. They are mentioning that. Can we explain ejection? Because I think it was probably partially my fault. I started bringing it up without the explanation of what it actually is.
We can show it in our demo app right here.
Yeah. So, Etz, if you didn't see me do this earlier, I created a demo app using Create React App. So it's called 4.0, and just for real quick, we could just run a quick npm start and show. Oh, do I need npm install? I'm not in the actual app. That's why.
What happened there? Oh, you have to change directory into the.
Yeah. It's. I do a lot of live coding, so like I figure out the error message just talking out loud right off the bat, and I knew exactly what I did as I said it too. But we have a full-on React app working just from running that command. So if you check out the documentation, createreact.dev is the website, I think, where you can
createreactapp.dev.
Yeah, createreactapp.dev. You can definitely learn more about that and get a better explanation of ejection and everything we just talked about. So folks, check that out. But here you can see my server's already started. I don't know why I'm getting you know what? Am I already running a server on this? Well, this is fancy. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Don't know what happened there. Oh, this is beautiful. This is actually a little different than the last time I create React app.
It's been a while then, yeah.
Yeah, it has been a while. Yeah, I guess it's probably been 2 years if I probably am correct, because I leverage Code Sandbox. So I could probably go look at a sandbox and see my last Create React app.
They definitely support Create React app, which is nice.
Yeah, but for the context of Etz, we have a running React server or React app running on a Node server, and I just want to show before I even do the ejecting that it gives me a couple things, which is the source folder and then that spinning logo that you can see right here. And for those who are not familiar with this, and maybe this is your first time seeing Vim, this is Vim. But yeah, I got the image here. That's the spinning logo that we just saw here. And then all the sort of context here. So ideally, what I'm able to do now is I have a React app running. I get to change the copy. I can add a couple of new pages if I wanted to. And that's sort of the benefit of Create React App. I didn't have to do any sort of setup. Now, if I did, what is it, Yarn Eject?
Yeah.
What Yarn Eject does is gives us access to. Actually, do you want to explain this? This is your project.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, so you sort of showed the directory structure there earlier. So you just have a source folder which has a couple React components in it, and then there's a public folder which just has the SVG of the logo. So if you run this eject step, it's going to add a config directory with a number of config files in it. And those are things that they're still there right now, but they're behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying, I want those directly in my project so I can modify them. So yeah, if you take a look at the directory now, you should see some additional stuff.
Excellent. There we go.
Yeah, so there's that config directory now.
There we go.
And so that you can see that has our Webpack config, Webpack dev server, some Jest config.
Yeah, which is a massive Webpack file too as well. So,
Yeah.
And I think the benefit of this is that I don't need to know what Webpack is or how to use Webpack in order to get a React site working.
Right. That's why we abstract these details away from people, because in most cases, they're probably not what you came to create React app for.
Yeah. But yeah, this is so yeah, hopefully let us know if that was a good explanation of what ejecting does. But yeah, this gives us a little more access to what's under the hood. But as I found out, it does sort of obliterate. Yeah.
There's a strong there's a reason why it prompts you and asks you if you really do want to eject, because you can't go back. If you do want to try it out, it's if you have like a repo and you've made some commits, you can try ejecting and then just throw that away and go back to what you had. But otherwise, the ejecting process is not reversible. So once you do it, once you start customizing those configs, you're kind of on your own.
Yeah.
So that's why we recommend against doing it. And then if you don't, like I said, it's upgrading is as easy as just bumping the version number of React scripts.
Excellent. Yeah, and then for you mentioned too as well, the survey.
Yeah.
So I'll fill out the survey, see if this is useful for you. I won't submit this. This is probably not. It's gonna mess up the survey results. But yeah, curious. What else do you have to share about the Create React experience?
Well, we can maybe talk a little bit about the new version of Create React App. As I mentioned, we just released that a couple hours ago, version 4.0. So yeah, maybe let's talk about some of the what's new in that version.
Yeah, let me find the release.
It's not there. I forgot to do it. I'll do it right after the stream. But if you go...
oh, that's right. The changelog is where...
Changelog, yeah. I just need to copy and paste the changelog into the releases.
Just for clarity, changelog 0x and 3x, these are previous?
Yeah, so the regular changelog is the current one. And then for, the 3.x version, 2.x version, we keep the old ones around.
Okay, excellent.
So yeah, if you go near the top of this, there's a highlights section.
Gotcha.
So yeah, these are some of the exciting new features that we've added. The first one is fast refresh. So that was some people might be familiar with hot reloading. So hot reloading, as you're making changes in your code and you hit save, it automatically updates the app for you, but without refreshing the entire page. It just that component just updates in place. However, that only works with class-based components, and if you've been following React for the last couple of years, you know there's sort of a shift away from class-based components to function-based components.
Yeah.
And so fast refresh is the better version of hot reloading that works with function components. So it was announced at ReactConf last year, actually, and so some people have been working on a Webpack plugin So shout out to them as well. They've done a ton of work on that. And so now we're using that Webpack plugin to support fast refresh.
Nice. And yeah, I'm just curious. There it is. This is the plugin.
Yep.
Excellent. Oh, and there's Dan again. So
yep.
Does Dan do everything? Like what is his role at Facebook?
So in this is a good example actually. In this particular case, fast refresh was a new feature that Facebook sort of created, and so he sort of. There were some people working on a Webpack plugin, Create React app. We wanted to implement it. A couple other projects wanted to implement it. We weren't sure if we were going to build our own thing, or then we heard there was maybe this Webpack plugin. So Dan kind of just brought all of those people together, and then we just coordinated amongst ourselves. And yeah, they would release like alphas of the plugin. We would test them out, give them some feedback. So yeah, it was really great. They helped out a lot.
Excellent. So Dan's like the community organizer of the React ecosystem. Yeah, that's it's interesting.
He's the connector.
Yeah, because I've obviously been in the React world for a long time, and seeing Dan come through before he was a Facebook employee, but also see him transition into what this job is today. It's nice seeing him still be that connector. And still be sort of the lead on sort of getting like the Twitter feedback and updates. Yep. I'm still waiting for this. I'm still on the edge of my seat for suspense, but we'll see. Yeah, and Demise, another question about React Native, and I'm not sure if React Native is just generally popular with our Twitter audience, but I don't know if you have any answers for React Native.
I probably don't.
Yeah. And for folks who are familiar, React Native is it's the way you could do sort of write JavaScript to create iOS and Android apps. I've done a lot of React Native in the past. Have not done it recently, so I couldn't even answer any questions today about it. But definitely check out the docs if you do have questions about that. But as far as the can you explain more? Because we sort of breezed right by the class-based components and how React is moving away from that.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, sure. So they in older versions of React, you would declare your components as a class, and then there were various lifecycle methods like did component mount, or it's been so long I don't even remember what most of them are.
Yeah, we'll update.
Component did update, or and so you would write functions in your class to hook into those lifecycle methods. And a couple years ago, they announced React hooks, which is a way for you to use those lifecycle methods in a function. And kind of since then, they've been pushing functions as the preferred way to create components. I know the React team will tell you that class-based components aren't going anywhere. They're not gonna, you don't have to scramble to convert all your components to functional components. They're not gonna just drop support for them anytime soon, maybe ever. But a lot of the new stuff they've been doing seems to focus on function components. And likewise, like in Create React app, we've transitioned all of our templates over to using function-based components and hooks and things like that.
Yeah, and actually, I just set this up too as well. So I opened up a VS Code, and this is this sort of functional component. And the beauty of like the React hooks is that you can actually have your logic for like doing fancy things. I guess I don't know what I'm gonna type here, but you could have a hook to basically do fancy things and then leverage that separate. So your business logic is away from your sort of view logic itself.
Right, and it makes it a lot easier to compose or reuse those hooks. Like a hook, it could just be a function, and you can very easily just import that function into other components to use. So they definitely have some nice advantages.
Excellent. And I don't know if this is public information, but or this has been shared at like ReactConf. I saw your tweet about ReactConf. What was it, yesterday? I didn't go last year.
I'm very sad to not be there. Yeah,
and I don't think they're doing an online version either.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, so I guess this the React Conf this year will just be updates in the change logs. You can co-locate those, unfortunately. I'm curious, stats on folks who are leveraging hooks over or transition from hooks from class-based component structures to hooks.
That's something that I don't have, but I bet the Facebook team has some insights on that.
Yeah, and that,
I can only speak anecdotally. Like I definitely know I see a lot of code being written with hooks, a lot of things being converted from classes to functional based components, and certainly all new stuff that I'm seeing. People are writing with functional components.
Did you make the change? I assume you're using React at Neo Financial. Did you make the change at the day job?
Yes, actually, we hooks came out just before we kind of started. So yeah, we're definitely trying to leverage all of those new features, functional components, hooks, the new context APIs, things like that. We don't do a ton of React. We have native mobile apps versus React Native. So our web apps are written in React, but our sort of primary customer-facing apps are native mobile apps.
Okay, interesting. So I just made an assumptions too as well that you were just doing React at work and they allow you to do all this contributing and maintaining of the project, but it sounds like that's not the case.
We do use React for some of our projects at work. I primarily work on backend, like Node.js, GraphQL. That's the kind of stuff that I do primarily in my day to day. Yeah, which is a little bit odd.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're doing completely different stuff than what we just talked about. But
right.
Do you find that it's a better balance?
I mean, I like doing that for sort of. Oh, my dog has woken up. I like doing that for my day job. Like I like working on the back end stuff, and GraphQL is really cool. But I definitely we do have a few web apps. And I help out with some of the I guess like architecture of those since they're React based, and then also have a few like side projects and stuff like that. And I use React heavily for those. So yeah, it's not necessarily a part of my everyday work, but I still use it for lots of stuff.
Okay, cool. And yeah, it looks like Michael had mentioned Code Sandbox. Michael, you are employee at Code Sandbox, but they refactored their stuff from class components of functions, and I guess Hacktoberfest was a big part of that too as well, which is a nice idea to. Yeah. I saw a couple projects actually mentioned they were switching to TypeScript during Hacktoberfest and got a huge influx of contributions that way.
It's interesting. It seems like a big undertaking.
Yeah, it seems like it, but I guess if you set it up properly and have it on a separate branch and just stop all work to wait for TypeScript conversions. I joked about it on Twitter. Said if I open up an issue to convert my project to TypeScript, would someone contribute?
I'm sure you could find someone who would.
Yeah, I mean, people got time. Actually, I had a great Hacktoberfest where the majority of my bugs on my app, because I have it's a UI, so the majority of the bugs actually were squashed and solved, and now. Oh, nice. I'm about to ship a new version, which is introducing another wave of bugs, because right now, once I get this last test to pass, I'm going to merge it and then unleash it to my community and say, hey.
Yeah. So are you hoping people are going to fix those over the next 7 days before Hacktoberfest is over?
That's the hope, is that they can at least open the issues. Cause I think what's happening is I had a security thing. Anyway, there's a PR about it. And I finally have it fixed. It's been like probably 4 months coming. And I'm going to ship that and basically just ask, hey, could you just use the app and let me know if you find any edge cases? Because I found one this morning. I was like, this is why it's hard to write code. Write code in the open. I miss Akash's latest question, though, about reloading in class-based components, not being function components. Is there a specific reason for that it didn't work in function-based components in the hot reloading?
So it's been a while. I don't remember all of the technical details.
Yeah.
I think it was Brian D. Vaughn, who also works at Facebook, did a talk on fast refresh at ReactConf last year, where he goes into great detail about how fast refresh works, So if you're looking for details, I would maybe suggest looking that talk up on YouTube, because I will not do it justice.
Yeah, and I found he actually did a podcast too as well. If you're in the podcast,
Okay,
instead.
yeah.
He might have
that's
did the sort of the circle around the community to share about this.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that. He'll do a much better job of explaining it than I will.
Yeah, I wonder if this is the video. It might not be the same title, but
We're too late. Yeah, October 30th. That's right around the time when ReactConf was. So yeah, that probably is the video.
yeah, excellent. And yeah, we were actually I kind of got lost in the sauce and chatting with you. We have like roughly 5 minutes left. Anything else you wanted to cover and chat about that was on the list? I think we opened up the changelog.
Yeah, let's maybe just run through. So like I said, we released V4 today. So yeah, we've got some exciting new features. Fast refresh is definitely the big one. We have support for React 17, which just came out this week, including the new JSX transform that it provides.
What's that?
It's
I guess I can click through.
Yeah, again, I don't know all the details of how it's implemented, but like under the hood, React JSX turns into function calls to something called React create element.
Gotcha.
And that's been around for a long time. And so they are optimizing that in the new versions of React. And they actually backported the new transform to React 15 and 16, as well as 17.
Nice.
One of the most visible changes that it makes is you no longer need to import React from React at the top of all of your components.
Yep.
There's obviously more to it than that, but that's the one that is sort of the most noticeable.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ship support for that, and then we've got TypeScript 4 support with TypeScript 4.1 on the way. ESLint 7, Jest 26. We added a bunch of improvements for using React Testing Library, which is Kenzie Dodds's
nice. Yeah.
testing framework. So that should be a much better experience for people now. We improved our service worker support. That was Jeff Posnick from Google helped out with that. So he made some big changes there, and we've actually split the PWA templates into their own external repo.
Gotcha.
So that means he's able to iterate on those outside of the Create React App release cycle.
Okay, yeah, because so another reason not to eject is I updated a bunch of my PWA stuff recently, and trying to improve caching in the browser for images, and I'm now making it up as I go along, where I could have just been like, hey,
right.
If we updated the 4.0, I'd get all Jeff's work
right.
for free. So kids at home, please don't eject.
Yeah, that's right.
Ask a lot of questions before you eject.
Yeah.
But yeah, good. That's good to know.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be. Oh, and then that last one there, we added support for the Web Vitals plugin, which is a newish Google thing.
Okay.
Just track some metrics about the performance of your site. So yeah, it was supposed to be a smallish release, but we've been working on it for the last few months. It took a little longer than we thought. Fast refresh ended up being pretty large feature. Some of this new the new JSX transform that came along sort of just a couple weeks ago ended up being a little bit more tricky than we thought. So it's been in the works for a while. So it's nice to get it out there. Hopefully people like the new features.
Very cool. And we didn't even talk about templates too as well, and sort of creating templates. But is there somewhere in the docs that you can briefly talk about that? And folks,
they're probably the best. I think there probably are docs on it. Probably the best way though is if you just go to the code for the project itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we used to ship. We ship two of our own templates, a JavaScript template and a TypeScript template.
Yeah.
So it's just in the packages directory. So we've converted those as well to be. So if you click on CRA template,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you're looking to create a custom template, this would be a great starting point. I also have a repo of minimal templates for CRA. People sometimes request, like, they don't want the spinning React logo and the whatever. They would just want like a blank white page. So I also have a repo of some of those templates. So that could also be a good place to start. But I would recommend, if you do want to build a template, just start from one of those. It's pretty straightforward. It's basically what you see when you create a new project.
Yeah.
Just in its own project.
Yep.
And then you publish that to NPM, and then you can create you can bootstrap your project with your own custom template if you want to put your company's logo in there instead or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're working at an agency and you wanted to create React app based on the agency template, it sounds like you can do that.
Yeah, it's useful for that, or some other projects will use it for their examples.
Yeah.
So say, like, if you want to, like, Redux is a good example. They say, if you want a project that uses the Redux, like, starter kit or whatever, you run create React app -- template Redux, and it just puts it all together for you.
Excellent. There was a question that came in asking if Neo hires remote.
I don't think so at the moment. We're definitely trying to build a local company, but I would still recommend getting in touch.
Excellent. Yeah, I would say GitHub hires remote. So just check out the careers page if you want to write JavaScript or if you want to write some Rails code. We do have some React stuff. Actually, we do have a talk at NextConf, next.js conf, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's like next week or something?
Yeah, it actually will be next week. So folks, check that out. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the VOD, the video for that conference, as well as give us a like and a heart and a subscribe or a follow or whatever thing you're looking at. Click those buttons. Ian, thanks so much for chatting about Create React App. Yeah, there was like so much information, but I'm curious, how can people, I guess, find you if it's not already obvious?
Yeah, I am Ian Su, IANSU, on Twitter and GitHub. So that's probably the best. I spend most of my social media time on Twitter. So it's definitely the best place for you to find me.
Excellent. And folks, I'm BDuckEO right here as well. I'll be live streaming in roughly an hour and a half-ish, passing some tests. So if you like watching Jess test, go green. That's what I'll be doing later today. I literally just have one test, and I can cut a release. We're going to open source. But yeah, again, Ian, thanks so much for your time. And
yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and folks, stay saucy.